Alright, so let's take a look at a really, really interesting one. This is basically an experiment of 1792 that is finished in Chardonnay barrels.
That's sweet.
It's sweet. There's not a lot on the nose. It's a lot of butter.
Butter, white grape, brown sugar. Not brown sugar, caramel. It's not brown sugar, it's caramel.
You almost get a little bit of like, and I've seen this from a lot of different people too, that it's almost like something savory. A lot of people think it reminds them very slightly of roast beef. Or like the spice from cooking roast beef.
I don't know if I get that.
I don't get a whole lot of spice on this. I get grape, I get butter,
I personally got it more as it sat.
Fair enough.
But like it's like I got it as if it's trying to come out, not that there's a ton of it.
I mean, my nose is a little fucked because I do still have a sinus infection, so.
Right.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Get a lot of that buttery kind of flavor on the palate.
Almost tastes like a premium.
But wait, but if it's anything like it was with me, you slowly start to feel the warmth in your chest, like way after you took a sip. Because I started feeling it just a little bit now, but I also took a much heftier sip the first time I tried it. But it's like, it was one of those ones where a lot of the warmth is on the tongue at first, and then it slowly transitions to more of a chest warmth, like almost a hug.
Mm. Mm. I mean, I get more like barbecue spice for sure on the taste than the nose. It's still really buttery. It's an oily whiskey for sure. Like, it's not like super
You
thin.
can definitely
like
tell
Amber's is.
that it spent a decent amount of time in a Chardonnay barrel.
Yes. Definitely get the white grape.
It definitely, like, most of the nose too, like, it's very Chardonnay heavy. You get some whiskey notes, but it's mostly the wine that actually seems to have the influence.
The wine makes up all the nuance. Like, you still get some of the basic, like, vanilla and caramel of bourbon, but it's not like... That's definitely not the, like, mainstay of the show. The mainstay of the show is all the nuances and flavors that the Chardonnay imparted. Because you... Like, for sure, there's vanilla and there's caramel in it, but there's no spice, there's no, like, oak, there's no...
The stuff that would come out of the bourbon the most was able to stick around, but definitely sitting in that Chardonnay cask took enough of the flavor from that to sort of overpower what wasn't powerful enough from the bourbon.
Yeah. Either that or it's just, like... They aged this just right in the right conditions, that they didn't pull any of the spice or, like, tobacco
That's also possible.
out of the, like,
there's
new
no
oak
official
barrel.
age statement, so they don't even say how long it was in the cask. We could tell it was long enough to get significant flavor from it.
Oh yeah, this was definitely aged at least like 5 to 7 years. Because, like, it doesn't have a ton of strong oak flavor, but
it doesn't taste
mellow.
young at all.
But it's not young.
There's no heat. There's just that warmth that you slowly start to feel in your chest. And the more you sip of it, the more it builds, too.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, dissipate. And, like... Because, you know, some, like, you'll take a sip, it'll slowly go away. You'll take another sip, it'll slowly go away. This one, it's sort of like... It's still there when you go to take another sip.
I just like all the white grape juice notes I'm getting because it reminds me of being a little kid. Because I like white grape juice way better than red grape juice. I don't know why. Because I hate white wine. I can't drink white wine at all.
I'm super hit or miss with white wine.
I
prefer a red, especially a bourbon barrel aged red.
I would rather just have port.
Fair enough.
That's the only, like, wine that I've had and have not questioned how much I enjoyed it.
Very fair. But this, I mean, as it sits too, like, there is that barbecue spice, I think, is what you're alluding to. It's definitely, like, it does have a little bit of that savory aspect to it.
Yeah.
That is definitely typical of a dry white wine.
Yeah, it's not like meaty or like roast beefy like you were saying some people said in regards to savory.
Right,
it's
because
like,
I kind of, like, it's one of those ones where I can kind of see that, but that's not necessarily how I would describe it.
I would say it's like you took a steak and put butter and like the spices on it.
And then just took that butter and it's like you did that and then took the flavor of the butter and the spices and took the steak away from it. Like, maybe you get the juices from the steak, but that's like, you don't get the actual meat at all.
No, none whatsoever. It's a very mellow bourbon, without a doubt. Not that much heat. Honestly, I feel like the Angel's Envy was harder than this.
I mostly agree. You feel it a lot more here, like in your chest, than you felt the Angel's Envy. But, and again, that's one of those ones where I guarantee you, because I drank maybe half a Glencairn full, and it definitely builds. The more it's like when you're eating like a kind of spicy barbecue potato chip, and the more you eat of it, the more that heat builds. That's how this kind of reminded me. Where it wasn't like a heat though; it was like the warmth, like like that Kentucky Hug sort of like builds.
Yes. But
I have no regrets about buying this.
No, none whatsoever.
This is really good. And at $70, I want to try the other ones.
I totally would. Like, that's something that is definitely worth $70.
I would definitely go buy a bottle of one of the other ones.
I would, and if I'm being honest, I would probably buy this one again too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, I would want to try the others, but if anything, I would continue to buy this one. I
can totally agree with that.
Because looking at the flavor notes, because obviously we know how a port wine one is going to affect it to a degree, because there's a lot of similarities across different port barrel finished wine or bourbons. The Cabernet one's the other one that's going to be interesting because you're going to get a lot of dark chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get a lot of the rich dark berries, probably some tannins and a little bit of oak.
Yeah, because it's a super like dark, dry wine. There's not much sweet.
With a lot of dry fruitiness, where it's like it has sweet flavor notes, but it's not sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get all of that stuff, where it's like almost like a cocoa more than it is even a dark chocolate, but like an in between. Where. Yeah, I would definitely be interested to try the other ones.
Oh, for sure.
Or at least the, if I didn't try the port one, it wouldn't be the end of the world to me, because again, I like that Isaac Bowman enough that it's not like there's a void that needs filled.
Yeah, if you go up to New York, it's only $35 a bottle.
Yeah. It's also an option for looking for that 12-year cask.
New York doesn't have it. I've looked.
Motherfucker.
I looked on Wine Searcher.
We're looking for Knob Creek 12-year cask strength. I found it in Delaware, and I'm so mad that neither of us had the money to buy it in that moment, because we would have.
If you would have texted me like 2 days later, I would have had the money.
I know, and I wasn't there 2 days later. I was there that day and left the next.
I know.
But this is one where if someone's looking for something different, or if they're looking for something that's mellow, relatively mild, but still has a little bit of heat to it, and still has that building warmth, and it's something different every day of the week.
For sure.
This is something that I can see myself having as a daily sipper if it were around. But I don't know, because it's a new experiment, so who knows?
I think that it's something that'll stick around because people like wine finished whiskeys.
And especially when they do creative things with it, where it's not,
this is the second Chardonnay barrel finished bourbon I've had. The only other one I've had was Amador Double Barrel, and Amador Double Barrel was a much spicier version of it, so I like this one a little bit better.
Right, because it doesn't pick up any of it's what Angel's Envy does, but better and with a different
type of wine.
Yeah.
And it's also much higher proof, so it has a ton more flavor.
Right, I think that's the big thing, is that reinforcing my point that if Angel's Envy was higher proof, I'd probably love it a lot more.
If they made it 100 proof, I think Angel's Envy would be like one of the most highly sought after.
It would be the port barrel finished wine.
I think it would be if they bumped it up to 100 proof.
They should take a lesson from Barton here, because this is. Yeah, I'm very happy with this. This is $75 after tax at PA. This is a really good purchase.
Oh, for sure.
This is not the first blind purchase I've gone in not going off of any personal recommendations. That has turned out really well between this and the Cave Hill.
That Cave Hill was a huge surprise even for me.
Yeah. This one was too, because this could either be great or terrible. It's something brand new from a place that hasn't really done those kinds of experiments.
And they did a great
job. Because you think
job.
1792, there's a lot of variations, but they're not like super experimental. It's like, okay, we're gonna make a weeded, we're gonna make a bottled and bond, a foolproof. Like, that's not super experimental. That's just changing around what you're doing with it. This is completely different.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I were them, I'd slap 1792 on the name too.
I'm surprised they didn't.
I know. Maybe they wanted to gauge it without it being associated directly with a brand name that distinctly. They had to look to see where it was from.
It's possible. It is possible.
It's like with Bourbon and not saying that it's from Buffalo Trace. They don't want people buying it for that reason alone.
Well, I'm still curious about like what the relationship is there, because Buffalo Trace does not source for anybody else, as far as I know.
So what they do is they literally source the distillate.
Yep.
And then Bowman distills it one more time and ages it themselves, which is really interesting too, because a lot of the source stuff is already aged when it's sourced. They don't source it and then do all the aging themselves.
Interesting. I didn't realize that they aged it all themselves.
Yeah, they age it themselves, which is what makes the Bowman really interesting to me.
Gotcha.
And that's where it gets a lot of the unique characteristics. That's where all the pepper and stuff comes from, where you can tell it's the same mash bill, but because it's aged completely in a different place, that's why you get all that pepper.
Yep.
That's why the only real indicator that Buffalo Trace has that signature little bite that Buffalo Trace has.
It has the bite and it has the cherry.
It has the cherry. It has a little bit of the oak and a little bit of the sweetness that the Eagle Rare does. It is reminiscent in that respect. Mm-hmm. But it's a muted version of that because the pepper and the bite ring like power over that.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
See why I wanted you guys to try this?
Yeah, no, I'm very, very happy with that.